This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, June 2nd. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Powell, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast, a podcast where we talk about home automation, home technology, all the fun stuff. Anybody keeping an eye on what this little company Apple is doing? Apple? I know we're a podcast, so we're like legally required to talk about whatever Apple is doing, I think. Because literally everybody else is talking about Apple VR right now and how it's like, I'm sure by the time I edit this show, it'll be out and we'll be like, oh, that was a waste of time. But I don't know. You guys excited about the Apple VR product?
Personally, no. Every podcast has been talking about it, and I just heard the predicted price ranges of these things. They were saying $2,000 to $3,000, and then even worse, those price ranges were US dollars, so it even hit me even more. And from the time I just heard that number, I'm like, no thanks. When this thing's like more expensive than my car right now, I can't even justify. I'm not even looking. I'm not even excited about VR. You know, augmented reality, I see a lot of use for that, but VR, I'm just not excited for it. And they keep talking about it at work, like they're trying to make it a thing at work, but I just don't see myself walking into meetings in my VR headset and stuff like that at work either. I don't know what they're trying to do.
Yeah, the only appealing thing out of this to me sounds like is the actual AR. I've always envisioned, ever since Google Glass was released, I've kind of envisioned, being at work or being somewhere and pulling up a manual for a product you're looking at, or, showing somebody what a piece of furniture actually looks like in their house or something, something utility like that. I don't know if I would use it in like my personal life, but I definitely see all kinds of work applications for it.
I've often thought about some kind of like AR or VR desk setup. I think there's a bunch of those out there right now. A lot of people actually use them, where they use the VR goggles. They sit down at a desk with a keyboard. There's no monitor, but when they put the headset on, it kind of like just projects different monitors, different displays, or not even the concept of monitors. Programs are just running there in thin air, and you're able to interact with them just like a computer. That seems like an interesting idea. It'll get you a bigger computer screen, I think, than you need, because it's like 360, whichever way you want to look, there's the data you're going to work on. I don't know. That all seems kind of like over the top than what I think it actually needs just to work on, which is just a laptop computer, right? Like, it's really all I need to get by with. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they come out with this thing with on. It looks like it's a Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Maybe we'll throw a link to like a watch party or something in the hub. So if you're in there, and if this show is released and published before then, you'll know. But if you're in the hub, at least you can join us there, and we can kind of like watch it all the same time together. So that should be fun. That's always fun.
And I'd just like to say from now, it was great with having that watch party with the guys in the hub. We had a great time, because I know this show's coming out after we do that.
Thanks, Gavin.
I have no faith in you, Seth.
We'll see what happens.
We all have things going on, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's end of the year, school graduation time. It's kind of a big deal for a kindergartner. So
it's vacation time and everything else.
Exactly. So
yeah,
when all that settles down, we'll be able to get past all this and have shows released on a normal time. But summer's hard. WWC next week. The week after is the big week that TJ and I will be in the same town.
Infocom.
Do. We'll put the horns in. We'll have to edit that in post, but that'll be fun. I can't remember my booth number. Jeez, I think it's like 4866 or 4688, one of the two.
So many numbers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's on the back.
There's not that many booths there, is there? Why are they numbered?
There's a bunch. Infocom's actually pretty big.
They have 5,000 booths at Infocom?
No. The numbers are all just made up, but we're in the back.
That's
somewhere.
what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like rows and columns and all that. I don't even know how they come up with the numbers, but we have a little small booth. It's in the back. We'll be chilling there. If you happen to be at Infocom, you want to stop by and say hi, I'll be there at the Blackwire booth. One day I'll get the booth number right. I should know this. I purchased it.
Maybe next week.
Oh
Well,
well.
that's all right. I'm only going for one day, whatever the day that it actually opens. What is it, Wednesday? I think. I think they're open for a couple days before that for like training and stuff like that. But I want to go to the first day of the actual convention, so I'll be there. Won't be there after that. I'll be walking around. I'll definitely stop by Blackwire Design at some point. I'll be stopping at D10 and a couple other places around there. So
There it is, 4688.
4688.
Be there, be square.
Well, I won't remember that or write it down. So I'll see you at some point.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll meet at a Panera to record the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Nice and loud. Someplace nice and loud where they're closing
That's
down
right.
and slamming garage doors and that kind of thing. Perfect. All right. Well, bunch of news this week in the HomeTech headlines. What do you guys say we jump in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Google has been hit by a $32.5 million penalty for infringing on a patent held by Sonos. We talked about this quite a bit in the past, but finally, a California federal jury has ordered the fine be paid after determining Google infringed on a patent that Sonos holds relating to grouping speakers together so they can play audio at the same time. That's basically something Google has been doing for years, and I guess they just copied the way Sonos was. The U.S. district judge had already determined that early versions of products like the Chromecast Audio, Google Home, infringed on this patent. The question was basically like, how much is this all going to cost? And the jury kind of like went both ways. There was one patent that relates to controlling devices with a smartphone or another device that the jury said, not violated. But the jury chose to set a royalty rate of $2.30 per unit. And I guess Google had apparently revealed it sold 14,133,558 units of products that infringe on the Sonos patent. So you multiply those two together and you get to that $32.5 million amount. And will be interesting how this moves forward. There's a bunch of lawsuits still kind of going on. Google has countersued Sonos for some other patents that it says that Sonos has violated. This is all going back and forth. And I'm sure the lawyers are really happy about this verdict. And there will be other fines and penalties coming soon. But in the meantime, I still don't think that there's too much like going on between Google and Sonos, right? Like I think still kind of the products are handicapped and not really working well between each other. Hopefully they can work all of these issues out and move forward away from this messy lawsuit stuff.
Yeah, this has been going on for a little bit now, and just a reminder too that when Sonos said that they were doing this, they basically stated that Google and Amazon had both infringed upon the patents. And so I'm really curious to see if they go after Amazon right after all this gets done. And we're talking years at this point because now Google has countersued Sonos. Google's suing Google. Sonos is suing Sonos. Everybody's suing everybody else. So this is going to go on for quite a while. I'm interested to see what actually happens, but $32 million really isn't that much. I'd be curious to know what Sonos actually wanted for the licensing for the patent compared to this fine, though.
And the whole thing I don't like about this is, in the end, the people that win are actually the lawyers, and the people that lose out on everything is the users, the end users, because you're losing features now that you probably had at one point or you liked at one point. So I understand patents, but sometimes these patents are just so dumb, like grouping speakers. I'm pretty sure there's more to it than that, but now I guess you can't group speakers the same way on your Google products and you lose that feature. Kind of sucks.
Just not exactly how Sonos was doing it, I suppose. Or you pay Sonos the license and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A Google, this is what's really funny. A Google spokesperson told Reuters that the case was just a, quote, narrow dispute about some very specific features that are not commonly used. So I guess grouping speakers and it's not commonly used between your Chromecast. Yeah, never
used.
But I think Google has mostly been working around Sonos patents and releasing the products that are non-infringing. So that's been going on for quite some time. I mean, this lawsuit has been going on for quite some time, but at least that Google has started to move that direction. This may not be an issue. going on in the future, and we'll have feature parity again from what it used to be. Kind of shady, I guess, because Google is like a behemoth of a company, and Sonos is not. Sonos is big, right? We know Sonos is like I want to say they're like $1 billion company or $3 billion. I think they had like $3 billion in revenue or something like that. Not sure. But they're much smaller than Google, right? Like Google's one of those tens of billions of dollars in revenue companies, and Sonos is just like a small fish in the pond compared to them. So it is nice to see, I guess, the little guy win, even though the little guy is not that little in this case. They're littler, if that's a word.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, and Google could have easily just paid for everything, and this wouldn't have been a problem. But they knew that. I mean, I'm assuming the fine is actually less than what Sonos actually wanted, especially if the jury isn't going with them, deciding with Sonos that they violated more patents. So, Google at this point probably has already saved money compared to what Sonos was going to charge them to use all these.
Yeah, it just looks bad, right? Like, I mean, this is not something that's good. It's like anybody could bring one of these charges forward and say, well, Google's been caught before, and point to these cases. It's I forget what they call it, dicta or something in the court. It's like, well, this is like settled case law now that they have indeed stolen stuff from some other smaller company.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's precedent for somebody else to go after them about some other claim. So it's not like, frivolous lawsuits wouldn't be filed around this. It's just bad practice. It looks bad. It just really looks bad for a big company like Google to kind of bully a quote little guy around like this. So good on Sonos for winning against the man, I guess. All right, well, let's move on here. I found some really cool new products. URC has launched an all-new, all-in-one combined lighting solution. It's branded the URC Lighting LT3300. It's the next generation smart lighting. It allows the installer to select either dimmer or switch configuration and easily program to unique atmospheres for entertaining or quiet family events. It really looks cool. I don't know if you guys have seen these things before, but man, URC is really knocking it out of the park with their design. There's like a blue LED on the side. It's got a little paddle switch on it. Looks like a Gunther switch. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Have you ever seen anything that looks like this before?
Wait a minute. This looks like the exact same switches I just installed this weekend.
Oh, you're a URC dealer now.
Wait, no. I installed the Innovelli Blue Series on and off in dimmer switches this weekend, and they look the exact same way as these ones. They're even available in the same 8 design colors.
Interesting. Well, it looks like URC has OEM these particular lighting devices from Innovelli. So these are the Z-Wave, right? Just a rebrand, basically, of the Innovelli Z-Wave. And I guess companies do this all the time. It's just funny to kind of see this come through. And I posted this in our notes. I'm like, these look familiar. I just can't place them. And you guys are like, those are Innovelli. Just screaming at me.
Yeah. I remember they talked about this about last year sometime. They hinted at this in the forums that they were making a deal. And I think it was around the time Innovelli was going through like some tough times. They were trying to figure out how to make money and stuff like that. And I think this is when they signed a deal with a big company, and people hinted at URC, and there were a couple winks in the forums and stuff like that. And now you seeing it come out. So that's how long it kind of took. So I'm not surprised if it looks the same. URC targets a certain set of, a certain clientele, and Innovelli targets their clientele, and they probably will never cross. So, it's a good deal and a way to keep Innovelli in business.
Well, I've only been using them for a week. I have the Zigbee series, and I think they're great so far. You can kind of configure everything about them. I just find it hilarious that URC gave it this obnoxious name, the Lighting LT-3300.
It's got to fill up that spreadsheet somehow. I don't know.
Half the companies are coming out with like these simple brand names like Xbox One and all this other stuff, and you got professional companies coming out with some long name like this.
Like they come up with the 3300, but what was the 3200 or the 3100? Like, why did you come up with this number? I'd like to know that sometimes.
And who knows? But Gavin, you weren't kidding when they said, "Oh, wink, wink." There's some posts in here. It's literally Eric posting
yeah,
wink,
wink,
the words
wink.
wink, wink, yeah. And then he's gone back and edited a few of his comments and said, "Edit no comment, LOL." Like the official response to this thread equals no comment, wink emoji. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they are they're one and the same. In fact, the funny thing is someone posted what are these, the FCC filings or something, where they took a picture of the same.
Or no, from the Z-Wave Alliance website, where and it's the same picture for both.
Somebody
of them.
said they clearly took 2 pictures of the same switch with the same camera at the same angle.
Just so happened to do that.
Good stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's a switch. How many different angles can you take a picture of a switch?
It's cool to see, I guess, some of the product. This happens all the time, but it's interesting to see this product move into the pro space as well. You guys have been using these things for years and talking about them for a long time. I'd never even heard of them until you guys came onto the show, a year ago. So
it's weird to me to see it from such a small company. I mean, Innovelli is definitely well known in the DIY space, but I wouldn't say they're like a well-known brand or anything like that for a lot of people. And so I think it's just weird to see such a large company buying stuff from such a smaller company. Like, you would think after all of these years of URC being in the business, they would have a different connection, but I guess they just really like what Innovelli has.
I also thought that it was an opportunity that if they really liked Innovelli switches, they could just buy the company, for cheap.
Don't say that, Gavin.
Hey,
you don't want that
actually. Okay, let's scratch that. Let's edit that one out.
I mean, URC's made some pivots recently. They're not. They focus mostly on like commercial spaces. I think they have a bigger commercial offering that they've been rolling out the last couple of years than I think they've had in the residential space, because Control4/Snap AV has kind of like vacuumed all the air out of that room. So I've seen some of the companies like URC, RTI kind of pivot towards the commercial end of the market space, where Control4 and Snap AV weren't playing. And it may be that the URC that's still getting installed in homes is a smaller market, and they can support and reach out and work a deal with a smaller company like Innovelli and get their products in. So I guess it kind of makes sense, and good on Innovelli for selling some switches. And it'd be interesting to hear what some URC dealers say about their the TL3300 lights. Is that what it is?
LT 3300.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, it totally makes sense why you haven't been able to buy any Innovelli Z-Wave switches in forever. They've just been sending them all over to URC.
It's called allocation. Yeah,
that's right.
If you can prove that you want to buy a few hundred of a SKU, they will set them aside for you. No problem. All right. Well, let's move on here. I've got an interesting little app that's introduced an interesting new feature. Back in 2020, Apple launched a handy intercom feature for HomePod and HomePod mini speakers. Fast forward to 2023, and that feature isn't available yet on any native Sonos speakers. Now there's an iOS app called Suro for Sonos. Hard to say. It's received an update that brings that intercom capability and a little bit more into the ecosystem. So Suro launched way back in 2021. So far, so long away. So such a long time ago. As a way to take Siri and Apple shortcuts and build them into Sonos speakers. It's got 24 different actions. I guess they're useful there. Now, Suro has received a little update that brings HomePod-like intercom into the Sonos system for Sonos speakers. So while integrations like Amazon Alexa's announce feature do work through some Sonos speakers, Suro Siri intercom support, it's really hard to say, is nice for those who want to stick with an all native Apple experience and integrate with their Sonos speakers. So not really a bad idea from an app. Just kind of bring that little intercom feature into the ecosystem. It's kind of cool.
And this is a feature, like if you're in the Amazon ecosystem, you have this kind of intercom feature when you buy all their products. But when you try and buy when you have the Sonos speakers, the intercom feature doesn't work with them. Like, it annoys me how the Sonos integration of the Amazon ecosystem is stripped down and certain features don't work. I don't like that, right? Like, I don't see why they couldn't have some of these other features, but I guess it's just to force you to buy the Amazon products, right? So it's good to see that they can actually bridge it between HomeKit and Sonos using the Sorrel for Sonos
Gotcha.
speaker. See, it is hard to say. Okay, I just wanted to try it. I was trying to work it into a sentence to try it, but yeah, it's hard. But it's good to see.
Yeah, it's got support for speakers Sonos One, the amp, the Port Play 5 Gen 2, Beam, 1SL Move, the Symphonist table lamp, and the Symphonist Wi-Fi bookshelf, along with all new speakers using the S2 system.
Nice.
That's kind of cool.
Pretty good compatibility, and not a bad price either. $7.99 lifetime. That's it.
I might get it just to tinker around. Maybe I already have this. I might get it just to tinker around with it and see what
it was
can do.
$5.99 2 years ago. So you waited this long, and you have to spend $2 more.
Inflation.
Man,
that's the way they get you.
Yeah, but I use this feature all the time, especially if I'm out. Wife's not answering her phone or something like that. I'll do the drop-in feature for Google Assistant, whatever they actually call it. I think it's Broadcast. It works great. Get a call back instantly.
Yeah, I've used the one for the Apple a couple of times. I think there's it's built into your Apple Watch, and my wife just keeps turning off the intercom Apple Watch, so I can never call her.
We use it on Amazon too. You just tell her to announce something, and then I'll be sitting in the family room, and I hear I need some toilet paper, or something like that, being announced everywhere in the house. So it's a really cool feature. They also have the drop-in feature, I think you were hinting at, where you could just drop in on a room. And it's like a phone call almost, right? But that, again, also doesn't work with the Sonos.
Gavin, I'm looking through the integrations that they have through the Siri shortcuts, right? They don't list them all on the screenshots. It says 34 new actions, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't list them all. But I'm wondering if it has some way to turn on and off the stupid voice correction and night mode, that'd be really cool if it did.
Yes, you can.
So I guess I'm going to have to buy it.
Go for it.
You can. It's listed in the article. So
we're spending money live.
That's right.
Done.
As we do every week.
$7.99.
Oh, man. You're not going to be able to buy 2 coffees now.
The rolling total for this show now is $7 US. Let's keep going.
No, $8.
Right,
$8.
Plus taxes.
Keep it going.
Oh, man. Too good. Well, I've got it now, and if there's a shortcut I can make to turn on and off that stupid feature on Sonos, I will make it, and I'd be really happy with that. That'd be nice. So, yeah, night mode, turn on and off, speech and hand. Oh, done. This is great.
Bam.
Now, why that's not in their API, I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about the speech enhancement and the night mode and
yeah.
So for that one, I can control it with my Hey Sonos when I'm talking to my Sonos speaker. But on my TVs, I've also mapped it to my Harmony remotes. So I can it's on the menu screen where I can actually turn on and off it's not easy to do. I had to go through Home Assistant and install certain things, and it emulated, I think it was a hue switch to get it to work. But there's a way you could emulate that on the Harmony remotes.
Oh, emulate it, but you're not turning on off the voice enhancement the speech enhancement on Sonos itself, or you?
No, you're actually emulating that switch, but when you flick it, it actually triggers it on and off on the speakers. So
I have to learn how you're doing that.
It's through Home Assistant.
So Home Assistant can do it now?
Yep.
Well, credit. I didn't need to spend this $8.
You can also broadcast and say things with Home Assistant through Sonos speakers as well.
Yeah.
Could have saved me $8 by mentioning that, a little bit earlier.
Nope.
But oh well.
No, I'm here to help you spend money, not save money.
Not saving.
Come on.
Right. Saving's not fun.
Well, speaking of voice assistant, Amazon is getting rid of celebrity voices for Alexa. Not only the voices of Samuel L. Jackson, Shaquille O'Neal, and Melissa McCarthy will no longer be available to purchase, but Amazon's going to completely stop supporting them on Alexa devices. So no more voices for you, even though you've paid for them. Initially, they were about 99 cents, but they moved up to $4.99. I suppose many people expected to keep them for years, but it's kind of sad. You could say, "Hey, celebrity name. Hey, Samuel L. Jackson," and then ask a command or hear jokes or listen to a story, all in the style of Samuel L. Jackson talking about snakes on a plane. But now all that fun's come to an end, and the voice of Samuel L. Jackson's no longer going to work on your device. Here's a quote from Amazon spokesman Eric Svum. I don't know how to pronounce his name at all. After 3 years, we're winding down celebrity voices. Customers will be able to continue using these voices for a limited time and can contact our customer service team for a refund. I think that limited time is roughly in about a week. I think the 7th of June is what they said.
Yeah, at least they're giving a refund for it if you ask. I mean, I feel like they should just automatically do it because it just came out not too long ago.
And honestly, yeah, I bet you not a lot of people were using this. They probably looked at the usage and they probably said not many people are using this, so let's just cancel it. And two, if they're going to give you a refund if you just ask for it, obviously that's not a lot of money there that they're expecting to lose off of that. So, if nobody's using it, why waste your time on it? So you can't really argue with it.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever want this. I remember when this came out. I just have a weird. I don't think I want to say anybody's name when I'm talking to a voice assistant. I just want to talk like the Google thing is perfect because it's not a person's name, so I don't feel awkward. But if I was shouting some like random person's name all the time, like the A lady or Samantha or whatever it was, I just don't think I'd like that.
I feel bad for anybody that's named Alexa.
Right? Alexa or Alexis, anything.
Yeah.
Alex, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Samantha. It's too good.
I don't need my computers that have personal names. All right, that's a little too far.
Well, no more fun. They're taking that away. I wonder what the business decision, like it obviously does not cost that much money for them to make those voice models and run those stories over and over again, like for $5 or whatever. It's just a MP3 file, right? Like I wonder what the payment for them was, if they got payment for like one-off recording or they get payment every time somebody uses it or something like that. In aggregate, that could be a lot, and it would make sense for Amazon to discontinue something that wasn't making them money and may actually approach costing them money over time. So
yeah, and they're in a mode right now where they're probably looking to slim down and cut off the fat right now with a lot of things related. So this is just going to be one of these things. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear of a few more over time.
Good point. All right, moving on here. We got a new product from Wyze. They're still in business, guys.
What?
Smart home company Wyze has announced the Cam Floodlight Pro, a security camera with built-in lighting, object sensing, and it serves basically as the replacement for the original Wyze Cam Floodlight. The Floodlight Pro has a 1440p resolution, 180-degree field of view. It's also capable of continuous local recording on a micro SD card up to 256 GBs. Supports dual band Wi-Fi, so you can connect 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. It's nice. It also is rated IP65 weather resistance and requires hardwire power connection to operate. One of the things that's more interesting about this product, it has the AI computer vision built into it where it can accurately detect movement. So it's not going to be triggering off things like branches blowing around in the wind. It'll actually, see somebody walking around and be able to trigger an event or something off that. It also has the motion detect voice deterrence kind of feature built into it. There's a lot of cameras out there that have this right now. But if it picks up a person kind of in a zone or in an area that they shouldn't be, it can yell at them, "Hey, get out of here," or "Hey, you're being recorded," something like that. It's also capable of the color night vision thing that we've seen a lot of cameras come out with recently, as well as full infrared night vision when it's very dark outside and the color vision won't work. What did I say? This thing was for $150, I think. So not a bad deal from Wyze. Of course, always a great deal coming from Wyze.
Oh, the price point of this is actually really good, especially when you start to compare it to the competition. So they do compare it to Ring, but I also put Ring at a different, level to this. Ring's probably a little bit higher, I think, in terms of the quality and stuff. But Wise is a great budget, ecosystem. If you're looking to save money and there's certain features, it seems like it has all the features, right? Like they list a ton of features. It has all the big features. And it was funny you said, Wise is still around. Well, they recently announced price increases for some of their services. So that being said, you come in cheap, but eventually you have to make more money. And one of the ways they're going to do it is raise the prices on things. So $150, yeah, it's a good price, but the original Wise, I think would have been cheaper. I think it's still starting to creep up with their new products. Like I was expecting like a $90 camera, because Wise was always like, how did they do this so cheap type of product, right? So, but it's still a good price. And it looks like a good product.
The Cam Fun Lite is $100. So for $50 more, you get this.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what Wise is good at. They have a lot of cheap devices, but they also have some really higher end devices like this one. And if you don't have a camera with the color night vision yet, you are missing out because it does make a huge difference. It's crazy. I look at some of the cameras I install and, it'd be like midnight and it looks like daylight. And I mean, you can tell it's not obviously, but it just, there's colors everywhere. You can make out people's clothing and stuff like that. It really does make a big difference and it's worth the upgrade. I haven't used any with the Wise AI stuff. But I actually have a couple Wise PTZs installed right now at the house just to kind of watch over it while we're not there. And I'm a sucker for subscription. So I went ahead and signed up for the subscription. I think you get like a 14-day trial, but don't tell Wise because I'm going to cancel it right before.
Don't tell them.
Don't tell them.
I don't think they listen to the show.
Oh, well, that's probably good.
I forget I have one of these Wise scale things.
Oh, you bought one of those, huh?
Yeah.
Didn't you have Wise socks too?
I do have Wise socks.
There you go.
They're very comfortable. They actually make good socks. I will give them that. They're not like competitively priced, but they're okay.
I still have my my Wise April Fool's Day joke when they announced that they bought Nest, and you bought a camera or you bought a Nest, and it came with a camera and everything. It was pretty funny.
But it was an actual Nest.
Well, like a little decoration bird nest. Yeah. I was like, that's a fun April Fool's joke,
I forget they have earbuds. They have
literally everything.
Yeah,
they're like the Acquera of the U.S.
They also had a robot vacuum, but the one thing about them is their firmware updates are far in between. Like it's a lot of products that they just forget about. But their cameras, I always found, had some really good picture qualities. They always came out with, for the price you're paying, their camera had really good picture quality.
Yeah, I mean, look at all these lights on this new floodlight too. I mean, it's got 3 super bright lights. I mean,
3.
What else could you want out of this thing?
We've got noise canceling headphones for $89. Watch out, Bose.
Watches.
Yeah. Earbud Pros, or Wise Buds, sorry. And then the Wise car has been...
I kind of want that, to be honest.
Interesting to me, yeah. It's like a little RC car that you can drive around using the camera app somehow. Yeah, I don't know.
I would buy that. It's only $90 for the car, the power bank, and the camera. That's not bad at all.
Does not look like they have socks anymore. They've got a hat.
You got the limited edition socks now, Seth. You can flip them for big...
Oh, man.
They better bring those back.
Especially if you've worn them already.
Yeah, it's worth even more on some marketplaces. All right, well, let's move on here. Smart maker level, smart door lock maker level is announced it's releasing a doorbell camera exclusively for multifamily buildings as an optional part of an overall smart home platform for multi-unit dwellings. So apartment buildings, condos, that kind of thing. The video doorbell wouldn't be available to the general public, but instead comes to a smart home market for multifamily buildings that could benefit from having a retail smart lock maker moving into the space. Level says residents can use the Level app to peer through the doorbell camera and speak with visitors on the other side. The press release also adds that the camera introduced package identification intelligence to notify residents when deliveries have arrived. That's got to be pretty good for MDUs and apartments, that kind of thing. I remember when we went to Cedia in, what was it? San Jose, I guess? We were staying in kind of like an Airbnb apartment type thing, and we were walking through the halls, and like everybody's Amazon packages were just like thrown out in front of their door. And then like even walking through the convention center, you would just see Amazon packages sitting on people's doorsteps. And I'm like, man, that's you better be home when the Amazon guy gets there, because your stuff's going to go missing. It wouldn't my neighborhood. Like I can't imagine uh, just being in like a downtown city and then just having like your Amazon deliveries sitting out on the front steps. It's crazy.
Yeah, the interface actually looks pretty nice on this too. I mean, it I don't know, looks presentable. Looks like somebody would be able to easily use it. The commercial, I don't think they're getting into the access control just yet, but the commercial access control in that kind of MDU section is a lot of potential. And I don't think we've really gotten anywhere near what we can do with it. It's kind of been a thing for a while. There's all kinds of analog systems. They're starting to do a lot more cloud connected stuff. And of course, that means monthly subscriptions for everybody.
Another monthly subscription. I really like their door locks, right? The design, the idea, how they implemented it. I'm not a fan of the protocols they use. I didn't want a cloud connected door lock, but I really like what they did. And I also really like the features that are now becoming standard on things like these door cams, like package detection. That seems to be a standard now coming with everyone. And I'm like, that used to be like a premium feature back in the day, right? So I like how they're including a lot of those things.
When you rent, you always have a monthly subscription to your house, so maybe it gets rolled into that.
Well, that's why everybody's rent's going up, because they have to afford things like this.
You get value added here. I guess I'm looking through the article here over at The Verge, and it also mentions that they purchased a company called Dwello a couple of years back, and Dwello has this. It's basically smart apartments, lights, locks, thermostats, all that good stuff. So interesting to kind of see Level kind of roll out this direction as well. All right, new segment here. Who matters this week? And the award goes to a company that I have not heard of, ZimmySmart. They have a Zigbee Thread Matter hub coming soon. We don't know too much about it. It's got Zigbee, Matter, Thread. It's on the CSA's website. It might even have Tuya integration, but it's called the ZimmySmart M1 Hub. And I guess you guys, we were talking about this before the show. They have like a curtain motor controls for opening and closing blinds, that kind of, or curtains. And this looks like it's probably for integrating with those more than anything.
Yeah, that's when I first heard of them, was the to control blinds and curtains. When I was doing research on my own products, and they look like they have some great products. And this new hub, I guess, is just, their next step into creating their own sort of ecosystem. I mean, it's only including Zigbee, Thread, and Matter. How many Thread or Matter devices do you have right now? There's a ton of Zigbee. I wish they would have just thrown Z-Wave on there. Like, why limit us to, certain things, like why? Just throw Z-Wave in there and make everybody happy. But I guess that's what Home Assistant's for.
Hey, at least it's got a wired Ethernet connection. Everybody's been dropping that for some reason. Glad to see it's wired only, though. There's no Wi-Fi, so that's kind of surprising.
And that's how Habitat was for a long time. They had it was wired only, no Wi-Fi, and people were up in arms about it. They really liked their wireless, so Habitat eventually introduced the Wi-Fi dongle, and now then built-in Wi-Fi. So,
but I can see the reason. I like to hardwire mine, but I guess if your central part of your house doesn't have an Ethernet connection, then you probably would want to just use Wi-Fi and just put it at the center part, depending on the layout of the house and everything, and what devices you want to use. So I guess I can see it, but I don't know.
Well, reliability and speed too. Mm-hmm. Those were two of the reasons why they rather you hardwire it, because when you have like other products that are over Wi-Fi and stuff, like especially with home automation, you really want things to move fast. You know, one sensor detects motion, the light turns on. You want that to be as fast as possible, and hardwire is much faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those types of messages are much better over Zigbee or Matter over Thread or whatever. Like it's not. Or even Z-Wave, like just give Z-Wave a shout out too, even though they're not including it. Like those control commands or sensor commands or sensor data, you don't need full Wi-Fi stack to do that. Just sit off on the side and have the IoT network do its thing and leave Wi-Fi to, streaming videos and doing what Wi-Fi is supposedly designed to do best. That's, I think, a lot of the problems people had with the smart home over the past 5-10 years is directly related to, everything's wireless, we'll just use Wi-Fi. And there were better wireless networks to be used than Wi-Fi, and everything just got shoehorned into that. We talked a lot about this on last week's show as well. Like, Wi-Fi is not the only option. So I'm glad to see this, and this is just basically a router, right? Like a thread border router, or brings in Matter devices to this, like, as a connection point, and then from there you can choose your ecosystem that you want: Apple Home, Samsung SmartThings, Google Home, Alexa. You can use any one of those to kind of control stuff. So very cool. I'm encouraged. This is encouraging. We're seeing more stuff happen each week. Each week we have this segment. We play the clown music and move on.
It's like the meme with the shaking hands. It's happening. It's happening. But it's like very slow. I mean, we're kind of getting tired at this point, but it's still happening.
Yeah. Well, all the links and topics we discussed tonight can be found on our show notes over at HomeTech.fm/438. We do have something in the mailbag this week. We got some feedback, actually a question from listener Michael. He says, love the podcast, hoping you guys can help me out with a solution to a home automation use case that I've been pondering. I have a single light and exhaust fan in my master bathroom, currently 2 separate circuits, both with manual rocker switches. I recently replaced the single light with a smart bulb, the Wise Color BR30 to be exact. He says, I want to control the light on motion and the fan on humidity. So I'm looking for a sensor and a switch to accomplish this. So I'm running the SmartThings, but plan to move to Home Assistant later on in the future. I have plenty of Zigbee and Z-Wave devices already on the network, so nothing to worry about there. He says, I've been looking at the Zeus Q sensor and the Zeus Z-Wave Plus double switch. But he says he's kind of worried about his budget here. He says, any other suggestions for products that might fit this application? DJ, gonna throw it to you first. What do you think?
Oh, Michael, you shouldn't have asked us, because we're going to help you spend all kinds of money.
They made me spend $8 earlier. I didn't even have to.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that, but you did it anyway because you like supporting things.
Exactly.
No, so I'm going through something similar myself right now, actually. So I've installed a bunch of the Zeus double switches. They're pretty great, though. They, it's just a single switch, a single, whatever they call it, a single gang. But it's got the top switch that controls the light, and it's also a dimmer as well. And then the bottom switch controls the fan. And they're great. I've installed 2 of them so far. They worked right away with Home Assistant. I was able to get them programmed and everything. And then you would just need some kind of moisture sensor or something. As of tonight, which you're probably not going to get the sale anymore, but Zeus has a humidity sensor as well that's also on sale. So I think together they're like $40, maybe even only $30. And, you just go ahead and spend $100 while you're over there at thesmartesthouse.com, and you get free shipping. So just go ahead and smartify a couple things while you're at it.
The more you spend, the more you save. There you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Simple economics.
Gavin, what do you suggest?
Okay, so I've done this. So that's the good thing. Zeus, great brand. You're not going to go wrong there. Spend the money. It's worth it. Less headache. You can't compare a switch like Zeus to a $20 switch from another vendor that I won't name. It's a little bit more, but it's for a reason. It's worth it. Now, the good thing is because you're going to have both the switch and the sensor in Z-Wave, you can actually use Z-Wave to Z-Wave, what they call associations. And that will allow you to associate, like when motion's detected, the sensor will actually trigger the switch to turn on directly and not go through the hub. It makes it a little faster for reaction time, which is a good thing. And it also still works even if the hub's off. So that's another good thing. What else? Another thing I do with mine, I have Innovelli switches, but a lot of these switches, do the same thing. You can, it has a smart bulb mode, which basically leaves the power connected so your smart bulb's still on all the time. But when you press the up, it will trigger the bulb to turn on, that type of thing. So that's really good. You can also set parameters on the switches. So a lot of these switches will have a parameter that you can set the level when you turn it on. And you can have your home assistant, you can have your smart things, when it's a certain darkness in the room, set the level to 30%. So whenever it turns on, it only comes on at 30% and not 100%. So in the middle of the night, you're not going to get hit with a lot of light, right? So you can look into doing that. Now, in terms of the humidity and the fan, I've done this in the past, and you just got to be careful with it, because if you don't tune it right, you have issues like the fan kicking in the middle of the night for no random reason. Trust me, it's happened to me, right? It just, for some reason, the humidity in that just was higher than what I thought, and it just kicked on my fan. So make sure you're careful and you tune that right. I basically disabled that now, and I just tell A lady, when I get out of the shower, I just say, hey, A lady, turn off the fan in 20 minutes. And then I never have to think about it again. She actually does it. That's a new feature added in there. But you're on SmartThings. I don't know what they call them now, because SmartThings has gone through changes. It used to be apps, I think, on SmartThings. I don't know if they still have them or what they're called now, but they used to have apps where you can do this all automatically that people created. If you go to Home Assistant, they have the same thing. They'll have like blueprints that you can download that will automatically do the humidity and the fan and stuff. And if you even go to Habitat, there's apps on Habitat that people have created that will do this all automatically and just make it easier for you. So you have so many options, and you're not the first person to do this. Just, do a little research, look at the products, and feel free to write us if you have any more questions.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, because I really don't know what I would do. I was like, from a Control 4 perspective,
you only need about $1,500 and 30 hours of labor.
It's actually going to be a little bit more. I was adding it up. So I'm pretty sure the only product I kind of like name off the top of my head as to what like would detect humidity and bring it in is actually a product that we sell. It's called Flare. They've got this little puck sensor, but it's $119 just for that. It does temperature, humidity, pressure, ambient light, that kind of thing.
And those are tied to the vent, right? That's the Flare vent company, right?
Yeah, it's tied to the vent, but we have a driver for it. We work with their API and everything. We have a direct driver integration with them, which I come to find out I hadn't released yet. We kind of finished it like a year ago, and it's just been sitting there. So I kind of need to release that any day now. And it works really well. It kind of, in the Control 4 ecosystem, it emulates like a regular Control 4 thermostat endpoint, I guess. So you could do that, but you have to have a Control 4 system, which is, again, TJ, like $1,500, maybe $1,000 for programming, and then you got to have the driver from this as well. So
at least 3 service calls because it's not working correctly.
It's not going to work right. Yeah, you're gonna need like the 2 switches, like, because you wouldn't be able to do like, from what I was reading, he doesn't have it was one of those switches that's like double in one gang, right? Is that so? Shelly, I think, is probably your only option there, and you'll need another driver for that. So, yeah, nothing good on the Control 4 side. I mean, you probably get up to like $4,000 just to do this one bathroom.
Oh, that's not bad. I think that's within his price range, actually. Yeah. So maybe I'll hit you up.
Well, let me know.
No, those 2 switches are definitely worth it, though. I would go that route 100%.
Yeah, they definitely look nice. That's one of those problem-solving devices. Anytime you run into this, grab those.
Yeah, because there's a lot of situations where people have these switches in bathrooms and stuff like that, but there's not really a good smart solution for them. So
yeah, like I said, the only thing I've done with the duals, I have one of those switches in my bathroom, in my guest bathroom, is use the Shelly thing just to automate the lights. So the Shelly relay, you can't even use it, the dimming. I guess if you use 2 modules, you could, but it's kind of hard to fit all that into one box. So use the relay. Anyway, moving on here. I got a pick of the week. This is funny. It's been floating around for a while. But there's a truck here, and I guess this guy has a transmission linesman sticker on the back of his truck. So he's got some funny stickers, but the 2 funny ones he has is over the tailpipes of this GMC Sierra, and he's got HDMI 1 and HDMI 2 labeling over the top of his truck. And sure enough, the tailpipes look like HDMI ports. So Pretty good. Pretty good. If you're driving down the street, notice your car has HDMI. It's ready to go.
I didn't realize that Honda and GMC were using the same exhaust setup there. So
I think there's one. Yeah, Honda has like one in the back or something like that.
Yeah. Just like a single one, because I've seen the HDMI above the single one before. I like that he's also has the battery, the Wi-Fi, and the cellular indicators as well in the upper right hand corner. So he's looks like he's fully charged. So that's good.
He's good to go. Yeah. Fun stuff. This is a little bit better. You've got 2 HDMI ports, a little more upgradable than Honda. So you don't need another car to do your HDMI switching.
I guess he'll need that as a transmission linesman. He's always got HDMI's he's got to plug in.
I don't know much about that profession, but I'm pretty sure HDMI is part of it.
Oh, that's how all our powers ran, just through long HDMI cables.
Makes sense. All right. Well, if you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the weeks, or great ideas for the show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right, project updates. I have not done anything for the past week. I can guarantee you that. No, I had to clean up my house, if that's a project. But no, I haven't done anything as I look around to see if I did do anything. But it seems that you guys have been really busy. Gavin, you've got a couple updates. But first, it's that time of the month again. Like, Home Assistant's been updated. So what are they up to over there?
Yep, it's that time of the month, and they've released the 2023.6 beta. It usually comes out the last Wednesday of every month. So it looks really good. I'm just gonna give you my top 4 things I noticed from the notes, and that I'm looking forward to. 1, you can connect network storage. That's really cool because now you can send your backups to your QNAP server, your other home server that you have there. So that's kind of cool. But you can also serve media off of it. So there's certain add-ons for Home Assistant. You can actually now connect, network storage, serve the media right off that. You don't have to actually put a drive on your Home Assistant or anything like that. Really cool feature. They added copy and paste in the automation scripts. Took them long enough. I always had to duplicate. I was always jumping down to YAML to copy and paste it manually like that, but now I don't have to go to YAML as many times anymore. They've increased the Python version number. So the key thing about this is that they said, I think it said like 50% better performance or something like that. So that's huge because it's already fast as it is, but if it gets faster, that's a bonus, and that's significant. So I thought that was pretty big. One cool thing that I found, and this I'm probably going to take full advantage of, but you can now create entities from config parameters on Z-Wave devices, right? So when you have a Z-Wave device, you have certain parameters off of, like every Z-Wave comes with a bunch of parameters that you could set. So you could set things like the light level when it turns on, right? Well, now you can actually create an entity of that parameter so that you can easily set in automation the light level that you want it to when you turn on the light switch. In the past, that was possible, but it was more complicated because you had to call a service with certain command line, with certain parameters and stuff like that. But now that you can create an entity, it makes it so much easier and it adds so many more possibilities. Like on my Innovelli switches, I can use the parameter to set the colors based on certain events easily, right? Doing that today is pretty difficult, but now that they added this feature, comes so much better. So I really like that. I'll be taking full advantage. But those are my top 4. And as usual, always check the breaking changes before you upgrade, because there's a lot of breaking changes and something's gonna break as always. So make sure you schedule a day, take a holiday, give the wife like tickets to go see a movie before you do the upgrade.
Well, I did the upgrade while you were talking, so another successful upgrade. Upgraded to something. I don't know. It just says an update, so I hit update when Gavin starts talking, and then see if it comes back alive. So it did.
So easy that is, and that's why I say run Home Assistant in a VM using their Home Assistant OS. It's just so much easier to upgrade.
Yeah, it runs right there on my Unraid box. You helped me get started. So yeah, there's also a Habitat update. I guess we can talk about them too. They've made some new changes, including a graphical view of Zigbee and Z-Wave networks. just kind of sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it actually started as a community project. So somebody in the community developed this, and it looks like they may have integrated it now right into the hub with the latest update. So the update is 2.3.5.145, if you got that. And being able to visualize, like, it helps with troubleshooting because you can visualize like your Z-Wave and your Zigbee routes, and see like where things are going through, or seeing what they're connected to and the strength of the connection. Because sometimes you'd see like a Z, you could detect like a ghost node, or you would see like a Z-Wave device that's not connected to anything, and you could troubleshoot why it's broken, right? Or that's going through this bad node here. So that's really cool that they built it in. So it's worth the upgrade there. I believe it only works though on the C7 and the C8 hubs.
It's also cool. I'm looking at some of the pictures. This would work on a smaller system, but I can tell you from experience that it's not going to scale very well to a larger system. When you have maybe 100 or a few hundred Zigbee nodes, it's gonna be hard to see. It's sometimes in that situation, it's better to have just like a list, and you can use that and sort and find problems like signal strength and all that stuff.
It's
At
a
least,
little more than that, but when you have a large system like that, you also know what to look for. Like there are
yeah,
certain like, when I remember when I was playing around with it, there's certain like patterns you look for, and you can easily just hone in on that. Or if you know a specific device, you just look for that line, and you follow it from there and see where it's failing, right? So it just gets bigger and messier. But I've seen some pretty big maps, and it was interesting to troubleshoot. Makes it still a bit easier than having nothing at all.
yeah, no, definitely. Any troubleshooting tool you can get, especially around like magical devices like Zigbee and Z-Wave, is a big help. Like if you can't, it's all wireless, but that means it's invisible. And if the wireless breaks, and you can't tell. So yeah, you could, if these devices, they also like will report their signal strength, their interference, that kind of thing. Like it's good to know that if you got some kind of problem between point A and point B, you can either put another device in to supplement it, or you can move the device, that kind of thing. So yeah, any tool to help you troubleshoot a magical wireless network, always good to have. So anyway, moving on, you've got some new toys. You're still doing soil sensing, Gavin.
You're buying all kinds of stuff, Gavin.
No, you know what? It's the season, right? Like
The buying
summer
season.
just yeah, the buying season. It's spring, summer. This was one of the things I wanted to do. And after buying the EcoWit soil moisture sensors, I've discovered that certain parts of my lawn aren't getting the water I thought they were getting. So I'm actually been able to adjust my watering frequency and stuff to help water the lawn. So to me, that's been a bonus right there. They've been working great. They're sending the signal. But when I was looking at the EcoWit products, I realized they had a few more other products that looked interesting. I mean, they have a soil temperature sensor, which is really good. Again, for our seasons, you want the soil at a certain temperature, and then you can start laying your seeds and doing stuff like that in the spring. And that's a good thing to have. So I grabbed one of those. They're relatively cheap, and they work great when it comes to range because it's all radio frequency. So having them outside, I've had no issues with them dropping off. They've been great for the $30 I think I paid for them. But they also had a pool temperature sensor. And I thought that was awesome because I wanted another one for my pool so I can average out the temperature. So I grabbed one of those. It works just like the soil sensors, radio frequency. It shows up on my SDR. I can look at my MQTT and I see all the signals there, and I pull them in at entities, and they update very frequently. And the battery seems to be like it's been at 100% since I got it, so it hasn't dropped like that Tuya one I had that dropped to 60% in a few days, so no, they're really good products. So if you're looking for some of that stuff, I highly recommend EcoWit. You'll need an SDR antenna, or you can buy their base station and go through their cloud service and stuff. But just the SDR opens up so many more possibilities.
Very nice. Very nice. One day you're going to be done with your soil.
That's called fall.
Outdoor projects. Fall.
That's called fall.
Got to get in it while you can.
We'll need
The other thing now is we're in barbecue season now too, right? So I've been grilling a bit more, and I heard about this meter temperature sensor from Home Gadget Geeks, right? And they're always talking about it. So I decided to just grab the cheapest one and see how it is. And basically, it's a little probe. You stick it in the meat. You put the meat on the grill. You load up the app. It works off of Bluetooth. And you basically say, I'm cooking a steak. I want it medium rare, blah, blah, blah. And it tells you everything about that steak on the grill. It tells you the internal temperature of the steak. It tells you the temperature of the grill. And then it starts to calculate the time it's going to take before it reaches how you want the steak. And it will notify you 5 minutes before that, hey, the steak's, you're gonna have to take it off any minute now. And then it says, okay, you have to take it off and let it sit for a few minutes. And then it says, all right, great, done, enjoy, it's ready to go. I've been using it a number of times and it has been great. There's no more guessing, what is the chicken cooked? No, it just tells you the chicken's ready to go. Take it off, and you take it off, and it's been perfect every time. I did, even I've been using it on anything I throw on there, right? Just out of fun, because it's fun. It's almost like a little game. I threw it in some potatoes, and it was amazing to see that it was like, oh, the potatoes will be done in 30 minutes, and you could see like the internal temperature getting up to, I think they wanted at 200 degrees internally, and they came out perfectly, right? So it was awesome to see and to know, how long it's going to take to cook. So I highly recommend it. They run off of Bluetooth. So if you have a Bluetooth dongle in your Home Assistant, it opens up a lot of possibilities in there too. You can have it flash lights when it reaches cooking, like there's so many things you can do. So I actually put the 3-pack now on my gift list. So, if anyone's looking for a gift, you could just buy me the 3-pack. I'm good with that, like
I'm sure somebody from a listener will get
I need that 3-pack. I've been grilling a lot this year, so, and the 3-pack gives you a better range because they added, I think, a Bluetooth repeater or something in the actual case now too. And it charges in the case. The case actually has a battery in it. And you put the battery in, and when you put the sensor back in it, it actually charges back up the sensor. So it's actually, if you're into grilling, even if you suck at grilling, I highly recommend this. Like, I'm sorry, but like if you're the type that just is always afraid to do chicken, buy one of these because it will tell you when that chicken's done, and it works perfectly anytime, every time.
No, this looks like a really good idea, honestly. And I just got my first grill. So I'm still learning the ropes and everything. This is going to be a perfect addition to make sure I get the most out of those steaks and everything. So I'll be buying this, Gavin. Don't worry.
Get the Meter Plus. If you're only going to go with the single one, just get the Plus. It's worth it just to get the Plus.
Yeah, I'm looking at the dual pack for $160 right now.
Yeah, don't get the single one. Get the Plus. It's worth it for the extra range, because then you can walk to the other side of the house and still be able to pick up the signal and stuff like that, right? But it's so worth it. I highly recommend it. It's the Meter barbecue sensor.
Yeah. It's got Home Assistant integration as well. So if you,
yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna make mine yell out all my Sonos speakers whenever it's done. Your food's done.
Dinner time. Daddy's home.
Ma, get me some meatloaf.
My meat is ready.
Meatloaf is done.
Turns on the rice cooker at a certain time so that they all finish at the right time. Your food's all warm. There you go.
This is like the smart kitchen appliance I can get behind it. I guess you're not really grilling in your kitchen most of the time, I would assume, but like the smart ovens and stuff like that never sound appealing to me. But these little sensors that you could use to put in everything, that's a good idea.
And I know I said barbecue, but actually this Meter probe is not just for the barbecue. You can use it in the oven too. Mm-hmm. So if you have roast, you have, turkey, you have whatever, you could just stick it in there and you don't have to keep opening the oven and checking it and guessing it. When I buy the newer one, I might just give the older one to my mom because I'm sure she could take full advantage of it. But then she'll call me every day about problems she's having with it.
It looks really nice. I like this. I can get behind this one too.
Yeah, it's like a quality device, that little charging case thing it has. And
does it have an external antenna, or is it just like charges up inside the little box?
Just charges up inside the box, it looks like, right?
It charges up in, like, when you put it in the box, there's actually contacts in there. Like one end is on the head of it, and then the other one goes around the base of it, and then it recharges the battery inside. I know there's a joke in there somewhere, but let's keep this clean.
It's a family show.
Yeah, but no, you put a battery. The one I have, the battery's in the box, and it just charges uses that battery. It doesn't use a lot of energy, right?
That's pretty cool.
If you have 3, then you could stick one in each steak, and then cook each one to the person's preference. There's always somebody that likes it rare, and somebody that wants it burnt, and somebody that's just in the medium. And you can just put one in each one, and then it will tell you when to take each one off, and it does it perfectly. I did New York steaks the other day. Came out amazing. Like I was getting compliments on it, and I was like, I'm not a heavy griller, so it was well worth the money.
I have to check this out. That sounds like a lot of fun. And if you can leave the stuff cooking on the grill and just not pay attention to it for a while, that's great. Nice find, Gavin. Thanks. This has been Meat Talk on the HomeTech podcast. All right. Well,
send us your food pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. TJ has been busy buying a new house. He's got the new house. Now he's outfitting the new house with all the technology. Man, what have you been up? What's going on, TJ? What are you doing? What's going on?
Just tearing stuff apart, breaking things, Whenever you get a house this old, I'm assuming, and you start taking things apart, you just find all kinds of stuff, right? And, I'm taking down light fixtures, and there's like a giant hole. Looks like somebody just Chuck Norris'd a hole through the wall there. Whenever they ran wiring, they didn't do a really good job of it. So everything's just taking a little bit longer than I was hoping for. And it's leading me down the path of probably just rewiring the whole place electrically and low voltage wise. A lot of the wiring is like the old, it's not ancient, but a lot of the wiring is that old cloth like Romex that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Where, it's fine, but it doesn't have a ground wire. So at some point, I'm probably just going to replace most of the wiring with new wiring. Wiring itself, if I can do it, is not that expensive in the grand scheme of things, especially with like a 1,200 square foot house. So, me upgrading the electrical wiring is going to go a long way in the resale value, and also just, provide some newer safety features like grounding wires. But yeah, so, I've got Home Assistant going. It's set up on like a little Dell Micro PC. I've got the Zeus 800 series USB hub. I've got the SkyConnect Zigbee Matter hub, and they're all working great. And I've got a ton of Zigbee and Z-Wave devices going on right now. So I've got some third reality water leak sensors going on underneath the sinks and the laundry room and everything like that. The Innovelli Blue Series, which we talked about earlier on the show. Those have been great, very customizable. You can set the colors of the actual switch and everything like that, which is pretty nice. I've got a couple of these Zeus scene controllers. So these are 5-button controller keypad that you can get engraved as well. I don't know if I'll get them engraved at $40 a paddle, but pretty nice because you can program do whatever. And I've got a bunch of the Zeus double switches. Each room has a fan light combo, and of course they just controlled the light fan with the little pull down chains. So I have to run new I have to run new wiring for that as well if I want to control them with one single switch. So I'm in the process of doing that as well. Also got a bunch of the first alert smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, the Yale Assure Lock 2. And a bunch of these Zeus open-close sensors as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on at the house. I haven't installed everything just yet, and some of it's just going to be a work in progress for a while. But I wanted to get some of the basic stuff down so I can like turn on the outside lights to make it look like somebody's there, or whatever other nice comfort things that we normally do at our normal house. We're not moving in until the end of the month, so I've got plenty of time to kind of do some of this stuff, but trying to get the bulk of the automation stuff installed, and that way I can program it, remotely when I'm not there.
Yeah, it's good. It's always a good idea to do all these things like before you move in, move furniture in the way, cause drywall mess on top of all your nice stuff. Yeah, like it's always good to get it done. But if you can before you move in.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get all the wiring and stuff done before we move in. That's definitely going to be over the next several months. But we're not going to paint the house or anything right now because I know that at some point I'm going to have to cut into the walls to run new electrical wires and stuff like that. So,
The nice thing is you're starting off too with a fresh home assistant in a way, right? Like you're adding a whole bunch of devices, and we can link this in the show notes. But there was a great post in the home assistant forums, 20 top tips, some of this guy wished he knew when he started home assistant, and it was actually a really good post. So it's worth the read. And while, set good habits from now, like I always encourage have a naming convention for your devices in your entities, and then hide all the entities, like disable all the entities you don't use just to clear them out, get the mess out of the way, and it's easier to do that from the beginning as you add each device than trying to do all of them later on, because you'll have thousands of entities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm feeling pretty confident with the Home Assistant at this point. Like I still don't want to go in and edit, YAML, but I don't think anybody really wants to do that. But I'm able to make changes and automations and stuff like that without looking up a bunch of stuff now. So it's a progress of it getting easier over time. And, I've been using it in the apartment here for the past couple of, I think, year or two now. So I'm used to it, but I haven't got to have the fun devices that you normally would in like a house that you actually own. A lot of my switches and stuff like that are the third reality switches where they go over the existing toggle switch, and they're great and everything, but it's not like you can change the color of the LEDs and all that other kind of fun stuff. So it's been an interesting process so far. And it's just, kind of gives you perspective on what it takes to do this stuff. And I do this stuff for a living, but I don't do it in depth like this all the time anymore. When I was down in Florida, I probably did it a little bit more, but it's just not a super big thing up here like it was down in Florida. So it's kind of nice to be able to do this stuff and just work on your own house. And the biggest difference so far, though, is changing out all of those fixtures. So there's been a bunch of they're very gold lighting fixtures with extremely hot bulbs everywhere. There's like some track lighting thing in the living room. So all that stuff's come down. I've put in canless LED lights that you can select the color temperature on with a little physical switch. You got to pull the light down to do that. But they're dimmable and all that good stuff. So like that's made a huge difference by itself.
Just basic updates. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now that you're getting in there and you have all the fun stuff, you can up your graph game, because I posted there in our back channel my graphs from my Home Assistant. I really don't know what to do with Home Assistant other than make these awesome graphs that it can make, and I like it. So
Ooh,
Gavin's cracking
fancy
up. It's like, this is what you do.
Well, actually, I have one graph going right now. One of the devices I forgot to give a shout out to was the Flume 2, which one of the users in the Slack group recommended. But it's a water sensor, or a water flow sensor, that basically just straps to your water meter, and it tells you exactly how much water you've been using. And it's been doing a pretty good job. I mean, it seems like it's pretty accurate compared to what my actual usage is. It's not a locally based product. It relies on the cloud, but the integration with Home Assistant's right there. So at least there's nothing I'm missing at the moment.
Those are some nice graphs.
Thanks, Gavin.
If you really want to upgrade your graph game, there's a custom card you can add to your Home Assistant. I think it's called Apex Charts. But, schedule a few hours to play with it, and you can graph away pie charts, all sorts of things,
Ooh, I'm downloading it right now, Kevin.
You'll need to download it from Hacks. You need to install Hacks on your system and grab it from there.
Well, I've got the Hacks, and then Hacks said it needed to be updated, so I updated it, but now it says red, and it says it needs to reboot, and I don't
hate rebooting.
Stuff. I know. I don't even remember where to reboot. Yeah. There's no reboot.
Press
on there,
C,
so I'm not.
And then type reboot. It'll bring up a menu. Type reboot. Yeah.
When did this happen?
Oh, it's one of those hidden features. Power users know that when you hit C in Home Assistant, it brings up a menu. You can type in commands.
Well, it doesn't have any reboot on it.
Look for restart.
Oh, hold on. Restart server. Boom. There we go.
Boom.
Connection lost. So now my Hacks will be upgraded, but I don't even remember how to use Hacks. So there's just another menu option I don't know how to use. Well, if it gets me better graphs, I'll have to take a look at that here in the future. It sounds like you both have been very busy, especially TJ, talking about rewiring his entire house. for properly grounded wiring, but that would be something. That's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, that's why I wanted a small house to start off with. That way I could just do this stuff relatively easily. I mean, it's, like I said, it's 1,200 square feet, so there's not a ton of wiring going on. And they wired it in an awful way. Like you turn one breaker off, and like majority of the lights in the house turn off. So it's not even like separated into like rooms or anything like a normal electrical panel is. You could just tell they added on over the years and just took power from wherever they could.
My house was wired strangely as well, and I've got this big breaker panel, but I've kind of have the opposite thing. Like they put like 3 outlets on one breaker or something, you know. It's like,
oh wow, nice.
Yeah, I've got all these breakers, and they only go to a couple of things, and there's so many breakers in the house. I'm like, I don't have this much stuff. This house isn't that big either. They're all hooked up to wires, so we've had to consolidate a few times and move stuff around. And luckily, knock on wood, I really hope I'm done with that part of the projects of things, but I'll probably have to get back in there in one day and mess with something. These graphs looks nice, Gavin. I'm gonna have to investigate this a little bit more. They've got better colors. It's pretty much the same graphs, but just it's got better coloring to it. So
more customization and stuff like that, but they're free. So
there we go.
Can't be free.
Nope. All right. Well, if I get on those, I'll let you guys know next week. But I'll probably spend all my time editing these shows that I need to get out. So yay. We do want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about the Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day for inside conversations about filling your pool and watching it on a flume meter. That was very enthralling. And I have to admit,
It was.
I mean, there's like 30,000 gallons, he said, went through the water hose. And it took, who was that in the hub? I'm going to scroll way up to find that. Was it?
Filling your pool from your tap is never a fun thing. I remember I had to do it once, and it took 3 or 4 days of constant running, and then you had to turn it off whenever someone wanted to take a shower, and then turn it back on afterwards, right? So it did also cost me about $500 just to fill my pool. You could get a truck come in with water and they just dump it all at once, but it costs about the same amount too. So
I luckily haven't had anything other than just a major leak on the pool, but I did have an issue at my house, my current house, with some sprinkler lines that were still active that I really didn't know about. And after a hurricane one year, random, I don't remember which one exactly, let's just say it was a random hurricane. Yeah, one of them. Exactly. It's Florida. The neighbors had to have a tree cut down, and they brought all this machinery out to like grind the stump up and stuff. And I guess one of those tractors ran over something and crushed something. And we didn't know, but water was basically leaking out through this pipe. And it didn't show up on our property. Like it showed up like down the hill where it was coming out and just like draining into the ditch. And the people were nice enough to come by and say, hey, the next morning and say, hey, you probably have a water leak. We need to find it. And they were right, turns out. And that wasn't $500. That was $300 for that couple hours that was on. So yeah. I can imagine it gets very expensive, especially in parts of the country where they are experiencing water shortages and that kind of thing. Like it's probably very hard to get water. In the quantity in 30,000 gallons, that's a lot of water. Holy cool.
Yeah, especially for a pool. So
yeah, it's a big pool. Yeah. He posted some pictures in here. Showed all the notifications that he got. Like, oh, you're over budget. You have a giant water leak. Something's wrong. It's like nope. Just fill in the pool. So very, very fun to watch. Very cool. And TJ, you've also been posting a bunch of interesting photos and things of your upgrade process there in the hub as well. So join us in the hub there. You get to get all this extra content that you don't get on the show. It's all visual and chats and all this good stuff. So anyway, if you want to help out the show but can't support financially, totally understand. Just appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. with that's going to wrap up another week here on Home Tech. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
Till next time.
Yay, we finished it in an hour and a half. Yay.
Wow. That's impressive.
We always have stuff to talk about.
Yeah.